What in the world is happening to customer service? Why is it so bad? I moved to Rochester a year ago, and just yesterday I was on the phone 12 months later trying to negotiate and work with the moving company to create a settlement for the items in my household that got damaged in the move. Over the last 12 months, we've been going back and forth via email. We've had to send all kinds of documentation. 12 months later, my wife and I are frustrated. So I decided I would pick up the phone and call the company. I call the company and somebody dutifully answers. And I asked to speak to somebody who could help with my claim. The response is, "Oh, I'm sorry, sir. Because a settlement has been issued, you have to handle all this in writing." My response, very calmly, is, "Well, I appreciate that, but I've been working for 12 months now on trying to get a settlement. That's unacceptable to me. I'd like to speak to somebody." "Oh, no, you can't." I said, "Well, if you can't help me, then I would like to talk to somebody who can." So the woman says, "Let me put you on hold for a minute. Let me see what I can do." A few minutes later, she comes back and says, "All right, I'm going to transfer you to the settlement claims coordinator." So I go on hold again. The next thing you know, the phone's ringing, and it's a voicemail. "Hello, thank you for calling. You have reached the settlement claims coordinator." No name of who this person is, but just the settlement claims coordinator. "I'm on long-term leave, so please, if you need some help, email." And now I'm in this infinite loop back at the beginning. And I dare say many of you can relate to a story like that. Recently, on a hot summer's eve, I was craving ice cream. I looked at the clock. It was about 8:30, 8:35. Knowing everybody tells me in Rochester everything's less than 15 minutes away, I knew I could make it to the popular ice cream shop. I rush in my car. I drive crazily to get there. Lo and behold, the lights are still on. People are in the shop. I think, phew, I made it just in the nick of time. There were only about 3 people in line ahead of me, nobody behind me. I waited patiently. Finally, it was my turn to place my order. And I'm greeted with, "I'm sorry, sir, we're closed. We close at 9 o'clock. Now, why would you do that? I'm here, I've got money in my pocket that I want to give you, and you're turning me away. There's nobody behind me. What is it going to take at just a couple extra minutes to serve me ice cream? Why?" I'll share one more anecdotal story that happened to me just a couple of days ago. So I was preparing for a team building exercise with my faculty colleagues, and we decided that we were going to build these items called cozy coops. They're these plastic buggies for young kids between the ages of about 1.5 and 5. So really we're just assembling these, but they come in big boxes. They're about this big, and I wanted 6 of them. And all totaled, this was a transaction that was over $300. So I go to a major retailer, and there's a service employee standing at the front of the store. Actually, I think the person was a manager. And it was a little bit complicated because I'm buying this for a nonprofit, so I needed to get this tax exempt. But I needed 6 of these, and I couldn't carry them obviously by myself. So I'm like, "Do you have a flat cart that I can put these on? Is there somebody that can help?" I don't know. The woman was seemingly agitated that I was asking her a question, interrupting her, doing nothing, just standing there. So she finally said, "Go to the toy aisle, and I'll have somebody over there to help you." So I dutifully went to the toy aisle, waited. I waited some more. Nobody showed up. What is going on? Why is service becoming so bad? Is service becoming a lost art? When I was in school studying hospitality management, it was all about the customer or the guest. There was a phrase, "The customer is king or queen." Well, how did the customer get dethroned? So I ask these important questions because the very reason businesses exist is because of what? Customers, exactly. Without customers, there's no business. So why would you alienate your customers? When you think about today, our economy, some would say we're in a service economy. Others would say we're in the experience economy. Now, arguably, companies have embraced that because we've seen the rise in companies of a focus on customer experience management. A new C-level position, the customer experience officer, was created. Customers have put in their mission statements about how customer-centric they are. But where is it? Why aren't we seeing it? So what we have today is that, generally speaking, customers are paying more money for getting less, and it's creating greater and greater frustration and dissatisfaction. In fact, it's become so bad that many popular sitcoms have poked fun and developed skits to depict just how bad customer service has become. So let me share a statistic with you, a very startling statistic. Over the past 10 years, it's actually been done 20 years, but 10 times over 20 years, there's a survey done called the Customer Rage Survey, the National Customer Rage Survey. Believe it or not, it exists. And in their most recent survey that was released not too long ago, 74%, yes, 74% of all customers reported some kind of problem with a product or service they bought. Now that number is double, more than double, since 1976, when some of this was perhaps first tracked. Now you might say, well, that was almost 50 years ago, that's a long time. Well, in the last 4 years, since 2020, that number has gone up by 8 percentage points. Something is drastically wrong here. And this service issue, or degradation of service, is happening across all kinds of industries. Airlines are canceling flights. Doctors are not able to spend the time answering all your questions because they're on a quota, so many patients per hour that they've got to meet with. You show up at a restaurant and there's a sign, sorry, we're closed because we don't have enough workers today. The banking industry, the financial industry, retail industry, the hotel industry, all these industries are impacted. And we have to think about why, as consumers, are we putting up with this? But as business leaders, this talk should be a wake-up call and a call to action. Customer service can be and should be a point of differentiation. It should be the competitive advantage. We shouldn't be having dissatisfied customers. You've all probably heard the adage, it costs more to acquire a new customer than to retain a customer. What's also important to note is that dissatisfied customers are more likely to talk about their negative service and experience with a business. In fact, according to this National Rage Survey, 32% of customers, which is up double, more than double since 2020, post it to social media. So if it goes to social media, then you run as a business the risk of it going viral. It's like the shot heard around the world. So the message to businesses and business leaders is you can't afford to screw up. But yet we are. We're taking the very essence of why we're in business and we're relegating them to a transaction. So let's understand a little bit about why this is occurring, because if we understand some of the causes, we can then look towards what might be some of the solutions in how companies can pull ahead and differentiate and truly realize that wow experience for customers that become a competitive advantage. So there are many factors. Now some might say, oh, it's the pandemic. Well, the pandemic didn't help things in many ways. And things certainly have gotten worse. Services were taken away during the pandemic that haven't come back. But this erosion, as the statistics I've shared with you, has been occurring long before. I remember as a kid, not all that long ago, but a while ago, I'd go to the grocery store with my parents, and grocery store workers would bring out all the bundles of groceries to the car and place them in the car. I'd go to a service station, and there'd be a gas attendant that would not only pump the gas into the car, but wash the windows, check the lights, check the oil levels, and top off the window washer fluid. None of that happens today. And some of that maybe we don't miss, right? But it's just a sign of the evolution that services are going away. Now, why? Of course, customer expectations are changing. Everybody wants instant gratification, wants things fast, here, now, on their terms, wherever, whenever. Okay? Technology has changed some things, sometimes for the better. It's made some things more efficient, it's empowered guests or customers. But it's also allowed us to get caught into these endless loops. You call a company and you're in this voice tree and you can't figure out how to get out. You're dealing with a bot and you're getting the same, kind of programmatic, robotic responses. It's like, here's the problem, and they're trying to have all these niceties about, well, how may I help you? I just told you what my problem is. Now figure out the solution, right? There are gaps, what we call service gaps, and these are created for different reasons. People aren't properly trained. The perception of what customers want is different than what they really want. The perception of what we're delivering as a business is different than what maybe the workers on the front line are truly doing. The procedural process or training materials. But of course, labor is a big fundamental. There's so many industries, so many jobs that we're struggling to hire. And of course, businesses have been forced. How do they do more with less or fewer people? How do they compensate and provide at least some minimum levels of service? But as my stories share, we're making it more difficult for customers to interact with us, to get that human element. I mean, why would we make it so difficult for a customer to talk to a human being? Think about if you've ever dealt with a company and you're on their website looking for the customer service number and you can't find it. Why is that buried? If I want to relate to Amazon, I got to Google what is the customer service number for Amazon in order to be able to call them, right? Why are we making that so hard? Companies have put profitability over service. And granted, when you've got so many public companies or any company that's in business trying to make a profit and stay relevant and stay profitable for the future, but your customer is number one, and number one priority. So there are many factors that are impacting poor customer service. So let's talk about a little bit about what we can do to change the game, to improve. First and foremost, organizations need to adopt a customer mindset. And truly put, if they say we're customer-centric, not only say that, but mean it. They gotta not only talk the talk, but walk the talk. Invest in the employees. Hire people who are service-minded. Hire people who are empathetic, right? When we think about what is service, service is helping or doing something for someone. And yet, we see a shift where it's you do it as the customer. Now, generationally, service has changed over time. What constitutes perhaps good service to me may not constitute good service to you or to my parents or to somebody else. I like to say service, the good service is like modern art. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So what you want may be different than what I want or how you want to be served. So it's important that service providers offer choices. Look at, for example, banks. They have ATMs, they have online banking, they have tellers that you can go into the branch and talk to. They've got different ways you can choose the approach. But if we're going to have those choices, we also have to dissect the customer journey, map every phase of the customer journey, understand what does the customer want, need, and expect, and how best can we serve those needs, wants, and expectations to make things happen, to make things stand out. We have to create listening posts. Now, many probably don't like to hear negative, or we should say, consider it constructive feedback, right? But that's actually a gift, because if a customer tells you that something's wrong, or you didn't do something right, you can fix that. If they don't tell you, then you're going to upset more customers, likely down the line. And we have to think about going the extra mile. How do we anticipate needs, preempt the customer from asking? I want you to think for a minute. When is the last time, if you can think of one, where you were absolutely delighted as a customer? Some organization delighted you. Now, it's been said that in life, we should measure life not by how many breaths we take, but instead by how many moments take our breath away. And I racked my brain for how many times could I think of when I was truly delighted and surprised. And I only could think of one. Some time ago, I was traveling internationally to Hong Kong. It took me over 30-some hours between the time I left my home to the time I arrived at the hotel, between all the flights, the taxis, and so forth, the layovers. I go to check in. It's kind of late in the evening. I'm exhausted. The check-in process went well. Welcome to the hotel. We're delighted you're here. Fill out this paperwork. Share the credit card. Oh, we need your passport. All that good stuff. They gave me my room key. I was off. Into bed, had a great night's sleep. The next morning I wake up, I take my shower, I'm all fresh, and the phone rings, and I thought, wow, this is odd. Nobody knows I'm here. Why is the phone ringing? So I answered the phone, hello, and I get this message from a live person. Hi, Dr. Conley, I hope your day is off to a great start. This is so-and-so from the front desk. I just wanted to call and wish you a happy birthday today. I'm thinking, wait a minute. Is it my birthday? I was in a different time zone, different world, I forgot, my birthday was just another day. Well, to them, it was special. And I thought to myself, how do they know it's my birthday? Right? I didn't tell them. And then I thought, hey, this was a really simple thing. They had my passport, which had my birth date. Maybe they plugged it into a computer and ran a report. Does anybody in-house have a birthday today? Or maybe somebody was astute and said, hey, look, this guy's birthday. So anyway, it didn't end there. The woman said, our staff has prepared a birthday cake for you and we'd like to deliver it. It shows up with room service, a birthday cake, a birthday card signed by all the employees of the day wishing me a happy birthday. Now that is memorable. Why can't we do that more often? It didn't take, a huge act. It was a little thing that we can do. In my schooling and training, I learned as a simple formula. You take care of the employees. If they're happy, they're going to take care of the customers. And if the customers are happy, they're going to return. And the business is going to be successful, which is going to make the shareholders happy. Look at the companies today in the news where employees are working on unionizing, are complaining about their conditions, are on strike because of they're not being treated, in their eyes, fairly. They're not treated special. They're not compensated at the levels. So how do we turn this around? So I want to conclude with an important quote. Ellsworth Milton Statler was considered the father of the modern-day hospitality industry, the hotel industry. There used to be a chain of Statler hotels. And this quote, which is displayed at the hotel school at Cornell University on one of the walls says, life is service. The one who progresses is the one who gives a little more, a little better to his or her fellow being. That is so important. Service is a distinguishing factor. It can be the competitive advantage. So we have to make sure that we know the customer, we know what they expect, and we deliver. It's time to restore the customer to the throne. Thank you very much.